You're listening to All the Best from FBI Radio 94.5. I'm Gabriella Acaria. In our surveillance society, we are always being watched. In fact, everything we do, whether we're scrolling on Instagram, just buying our groceries, or on public transport, is tracked. This week, we explore the feeling of being watched, being the watchers, and how it impacts the way we experience and interact with the world around us. Let's start by observing that I'm recording from stolen and Gadigal land, and I pay my respects to Gadigal elders past and present. I also recognise that the area where FBI Radio is situated, Redfern, has long been a place of storytelling, strength, resistance, and resilience for First Nations communities. What comes to mind when you think of surveillance?
I think with surveillance, it's pretty interesting seeing the sheer amount of people walking around with glasses that have cameras in them. It's crazy that you could be walking down the street and someone's just filming you with their glasses on. I feel like it's become so normalized because on my social medias, what I've noticed is a lot of people would be filming these videos of them wearing those glasses as in a vlog or showing what they do in their everyday life. But it's crazy to see that being so normalized as well.
Woolworths is kind of known for their recent increasing of security and surveilling methods, but I just saw that they're recently trying out aisle cameras, not just the normal CCTV cameras, but cameras in the actual shelves of the aisles themselves. And they say it's for product availability and better product knowledge to make sure that things stay in stock, but we all know it can definitely be used for some increased surveillance.
If you asked me what I thought of the word surveillance 7 years ago, I would probably just quote George Orwell's 1984, the book I was learning about and reading in year 10. But now those concepts feel very much like reality.
Imagine it's late at night. You've gotten off the bus to walk a route home that you walk every evening. But even though it's familiar, you can't help but feel that someone could be lurking around the corner, watching you. Every woman knows the struggle of walking alone at night. It's become normalised for us to come up with different strategies to deal with it. Now, I could name countless experiences where I felt unsafe as a woman, but the reality is it's no different to what others have gone through. The constant feeling of being alert, just in case the person behind you on the footpath is dangerous.
Last Friday night, around 10 p.m, the tram has just arrived, and the street suddenly became quiet. I was walking home when I heard footsteps behind me. They were not fast, not close, just there. I looked back once, then again. Maybe no one was following me. Maybe it was just another person walking home too. But once I noticed the footsteps, I started listening to everything around me and feel frightened suddenly. I took my headphone off, held my phone tighter, checked the reflection in the shop windows, and walked a little faster. Then I realized this was not a rare moment. According to the Australian Bureau of Statistics, about 1 in 5 women in Australia have experienced stalking since the age of 15. The ABS also found that 62 million women didn't walk alone in their local area after dark, and more than a third of them said it was because they felt unsafe. This feeling is so common that it can almost feel normal, but because it has become normal, people don't always notice it or stop to think about where it comes from. And I think many women would understand this feeling immediately.
Actually, I had this feeling just yesterday. It was really late and I finished the party with my friend, and on the way home I have passed through a small street, and at that time I felt really scared and walked through my street with my heart in my throat. Can you imagine that?
At night my mind just automatically start thinking about bad news I've been seeing before, and like women being attacked, kidnapped, or followed. Then I start asking myself, what if this happened to me? Could I run away, or if I could not fight back? Even if nothing was happened yet, but those thoughts just make me feel very scared.
The answers are different, but the feelings are similar. It might be heard in the sudden footsteps that appear behind you, or it might come from someone's gaze, a quiet street, or the thought that something could happen. So, where does this feeling come from, especially when nothing has clearly happened yet? I speak to William Hua. He was once a psychology graduate student and now works in psychological strategy field. He explained why the body can react before the mind has enough evidence.
This feeling could stem from what we call hyper-vigilance. So it is a state of increased sensory sensitivity accompanied by intensity of behaviors aimed at detecting threats. And that could stem from evolutionary or environmental conditioning, or it's just hyper-awareness of micro-cues and the things that could signal a threat from the surroundings. This feeling is absolutely a valid form of adaptive self-protection rather than an irrational response. So if a person falsely assumes a threat exists when it doesn't, the cost is basically just a spike in adrenaline. But if they falsely assume that they are safe when a threat does exist, the cost could be catastrophic or even cost their lives, right? So the brain defaults to hypervigilance to keep yourself safe. So women often have to deal with this ambient anxiety so frequently that it becomes part of life. It is also kind of a societal issue, I guess. So when for society at large, something like this does happen in society, but there is no clear solution to it, or people are uncomfortable with confronting these societal failures, silence often becomes the go-to defense mechanism to avoid dealing with that discomfort.
The same walk home doesn't feel the same for everyone. For many women, footsteps behind them can trigger a whole set of questions. But as a male, Jordan Liu's journey home is somewhat different.
If there are footsteps, I'll turn around and check. But if somone passing by, I won't think too much about it. If it looks suspicious, I might get a bit nervous. But most of the time, I don't think I'll think too much about it. If it gets dark, I usually drive my female friends home. Female friends might be more risky, dangerous during that time. I've never really felt particularly scared, but I haven't really thought about this issue much.
For some people, walking home is just walking home. For many women, the same walk comes with questions before anything happens. Who is behind me? Are they getting closer? Should I call someone? It comes from a kind of alertness many women have learned to carry. It has become almost instinctive, and because it feels so ordinary, it's worth thinking out loud.
You're listening to All the Best. I'm Gabriella Accaria. That first story was produced by Xuanmeng Cai, and the supervising producer was Persephone Waxman. Do you ever feel like you're not quite enough? Sometimes it's hard to meet family expectations, but even with all of these frustrations, we still go back to them because we need the safety of family. Content warning for this story. There is some swearing.
待会儿给你打啊，你没事吧？你没事吧？
没事。
对，待会儿给你打。
拜拜。
My mom always said that you can enjoy some food, but you must keep in mind that you should catch up with the listening or writing in English because you are a beginner in a new environment, and you also need to get used to the whole English language speaking. So I think it's kind of stress. I don't want to just become a robot, just read the article, only write the essay. The watching is not good at first. One specific moment, I become very nervous, or I even want to fight with my mom when I stay in University of Sydney for half a year. I also want to transfer to University of Melbourne.
哎，烦死了！哎呦，好多事情。
I even talked to my mom, if you didn't want to support me, I can become independent. I can rely on myself. And especially on the Spring Festival, I become very nervous because I didn't return to my home to spend time with my relatives, also my mom. And my mom said, "Why you stay in Melbourne?"
This is a story from my friend Xiaoqi Chen. In China, Spring Festival is often seen as a time for family reunion. For many parents, staying overseas during the holiday can feel like distance is replacing closeness. For Xiaoqi, that expectation sometimes feel like being watched from thousands of kilometers away.
It's better than not so.
So total is $35.
Thank
In
you.
summer vacation, it is my most busy period. I need to take the lessons for the summer class. And I also have 3 part-time jobs and 1 internship. And during that period, just 3 things: study, work, and sleep. And I got a very bad experience. Leader just blamed to me and even said some fucking word. And I return home, I cry all the time. I'm alone. At that time, I want to chat with my mom, but I remember that okay, this is a silent period because we all blend to each other and didn't talk about 2 months. I can't be the first person who chat to her. But I didn't tell my mom that I also very depressed in sometimes. At that time, she wanted comment in my social media post, and I said, wow, my mom remembered me. I'm also like watching my mom secretly. After the Spring Festival, I received a request with my grandmother, the reunion. I also saw my mom, she want to talk to me, but I present very naughty. I said that, why you didn't talk to me? And my mom said that, because I'm very miss you. I don't know how to begin the first sentence. I told my mom that, Mom, I'm so sorry. But finally, I think that I can be independent, but when I'm afraid of independence or I feel tired when I seeking this work, I can rely on my parents because the home and my parents is my harbor. When I feel weak, when I feel sad, I can always return home and they will give me a warm hug. And I think watching is not a thief or not just a detective or just a blame to one. She's watching me from she gave birth to me, and then I'm almost 24 years old. I studied abroad and live independently on myself. And for me, it's also a very good thing to development.
After talking with Xiaoqi Chen, I really admired her courage. For me, I think I've already gotten used to this kind of watching. To be honest, studying abroad feels like something my family has sacrificed and worked hard for. So naturally, they have very high expectations on me. Our relationship is tangled together in a very complicated way. There's family, love, but also pressure and constant watching. But I guess if I shared more about my thoughts and everyday life with my parents, let them see a completely different world in Australia, it could be something great.
You're listening to All the Best, proudly supported by the Art Gallery of New South Wales. I'm Gabriella Accaria. That story is produced by Xinnang Wang, and the supervising producer was Thomas Phillips. In a world where everything is immediate, we can get frustrated when things take too long. What about the delivery rider? Have you ever thought about the pressures of being on a timer, being monitored by a company, and also being monitored by us, the customers? Ruonan Yang explores what it feels like to be a dot on the screen that is constantly surveilled.
It's 3:30 p.m. on Swanston Street, and I'm on an Uber Eats delivery run. The app says 12 minutes, and the customer is 2.3 kilometers away. Hi, order for Joey.
Thank you.
I'm now waiting at the red light. The app says 6 minutes left, and the customer is 1.2 kilometers away.
Keep left.
500 meters, 400, 300, 200, 100, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20.
Destination is on your left.
When I first came to Melbourne as an international student, I was shocked by how expensive everything is here. I tried to find a part-time job, but nothing worked at the end. Then I started noticing delivery riders. They were everywhere, riding through the city, in and out of the streets, and they looked quite free. So I thought, maybe I could do that too. I then bought a second-hand bike, signed up for Uber Eats, and started delivering. But after a few shifts, I realized I wasn't really working alone. Every time an order appears, I only get a few seconds to accept it. It feels like someone presses a button in my head and suddenly I'm in work mode. The timer starts immediately. The app tells me when the food should arrive, how far away it is,
Turn
and
right
exactly
onto
where
Brook
I should
Street.
go. The whole
Continue
time I'm
for
watching the
800
screen
meters.
and the screen is watching me. It tracks my pickup time, my delivery time, my cancellation rate, and my on-time rate. One day, it was nearly 39 degrees, and I got lost in a housing estate. A pizza that should have taken 10 minutes took me almost 40. I felt exhausted and a little panicked. Because while I was looking for the house, I wasn't just thinking about the customer. I was also thinking about the numbers, the late delivery, and the rating. And apparently, I'm not the only one who feels this way.
I once ordered a cup of coffee for myself, and then I got a new delivery order. I thought I had enough time, so I stopped to wait for my coffee for like just 2 minutes. So after, Uber sent me a message to question why I stayed in one place for so long. I was surprised to find that the platform even monitors such small details. It's like a supervisor keeping an eye on me.
The algorithm isn't the only one watching. There's another watcher at the end of every delivery, the customer. To them, I'm just a little moving dot on the screen.
Hi, Joy.
But if that dot stops moving... I remember one of my first deliveries, the app said 20 minutes. During that trip, the customer called me twice and sent 3 messages asking if I could arrive within the app's estimated time, 7 minutes. I had only been delivering for 1 day before. I didn't know the streets, I didn't know the buildings, and I didn't even know where the restaurants are. So all I could say was, I'll try my best. But as I got more used to the work, I finally relaxed. There was a lovely baby kept staring at me, probably because I was wearing the yellow jacket. Once, I spotted a house in a quiet neighborhood and found it looked just like a cottage in a fairy. I also got a lot of evenings, rode along the Yarra River, and enjoyed the music and views with everyone else. Somehow, I realized I'm also one of the watchers.
You're listening to All the Best. I'm Gabriella Accaria. That story is produced by Ruon and Yang. Sometimes it's not all about us human beings, but about protecting our environment. Surveillance can sometimes be used for good, such as conservation.
I'm just pulling up to Mount Rothwell Safe Haven. It's about 50 kilometres west of Melbourne on Wutherong country, and they're doing something pretty special out here. This 473 hectares of land is under constant surveillance, with 84 cameras, 2-metre high fences, and a team of field officers keeping watch. They're helping bring back 9 native species from the brink of extinction and keeping their colonial foes firmly on the outside. As I arrive, I'm greeted by the sound of bush stone curlews, a critically endangered bird in Victoria, as well as Cheryl, one of the field officers who'd be showing me around for the day.
How you going? I'm good. Nice to meet you.
Following close behind are 2 dogs, Rue and Digby. I didn't know it yet, but these 2 would soon reveal themselves as the real stars of the show.
She can see something now, but the way she's acting, she's not fixated like she normally would be.
Now, as a pet rabbit owner myself, I know this next part might be hard to hear, but rabbit eradication is actually one of the most integral parts of native flora and fauna conservation. And my new friends, Rue and Digby, play a big role in Mount Rothwell's program, as regular methods of baiting or ripping up warrens aren't safe for the native populations.
Where is it, Rue? Where's the bunny? Which way? So we started off using the conservation canines back in 2014. My previous boss had worked a little bit with an ecology team, and they were using conservation canines across different landscapes for detecting different weed species and certain native species such as koalas. So she thought it could be something that we could roll out here, and in no time the dogs started really picking up what they needed to do. They will either find the rabbits that are down a hole, or if a rabbit is in the grass, they'll indicate by putting up a paw. And then fixating on that. One of our dogs, she gets very animated when she knows there's a rabbit down a hole. She will bark, and when we're getting close to pulling that rabbit out, she will prick her ears up and just get fixated on that. Once we get to the end of the hole, the staff will pull the rabbit out, so the actual conservation canines move off the hole, and then we will dispatch it. Got one leg. Okay, Roo, back. Yeah. That's a good get, and that's a big adult rabbit. So rabbits are extremely destructive on the landscape. They'll also outcompete with native animals for food. So they are actually regarded as the number 1 invasive species in Australia. We have removed just over 30,000 rabbits from 470 hectares.
And why is it so important to use cameras as well as dogs to keep eyes on the burrows?
When we are down to low numbers, we find a lot of native animals such as bandicoots, potoroos, bettongs will start to use those warren systems, as well as quolls and even southern brush-tailed rock wallabies. So we need to be sure there's no collateral damage of native species. So it is vitally important that we do detect that through the cameras. Which way, Ruru? Which way? I think that's obviously a native here. She's not going to that now.
Mount Rothwell is one of 8 conservation sites partnered with Odonata Foundation. I spoke with Matthew Singleton, their Chief Operating Officer, to better understand why having rabbit-free land is so important.
Invasive species pose a huge problem. A lot of our local flora and fauna are just not adapted to cope with the pressures that these species play. So we focus on 9 core species, each playing a very different ecosystem role. And it's important that these species are protected and their populations are rebuilt. Once we see species start to go extinct, we actually lose these functions, which results in really unbalanced and unhealthy ecosystems, which then heads us closer and closer towards collapse, which is not a place we want to be.
Are you seeing already the flow-on effects of this eradication?
We're always watching every corner of Mount Rothwell. In environments where we've literally seen thousands of rabbits, they're now tracking individuals with very rogue and exotic names and hunting their movements down rabbit by rabbit. Some of the photos and the imagery of the landscape from even at 12 months ago to now is remarkable. You know, you could be looking at a Mars rover image in some spots to now flourishing grasslands. It's really incredible to see that transformation, and that's the feedback that really keeps us all going, and particularly the team on the ground who are just a buzz of energy and motivation. You can see that they're really making a difference in the world.
You're listening to All the Best. I'm Gabriella Accaria. That last story is produced by Alexandra Neville. Once again, the stories in today's episode were produced as part of a collaboration between the University of Melbourne, the Centre for Advancing Journalism, and All the Best. You can tune into more stories like these on the Centre for Advancing Journalism's podcast, The On. And if you love audio stories, then keep listening to All the Best for audio adventures from around the corner and around the country. New episodes drop Tuesdays at 4 p.m. Sydney time, and you can find scores of local stories in our archive at allthebestradio.com or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you want to learn how to make a radio story, get in touch. All the Best is made at FBI Radio on Gadigal land, and it features producers, stories and voices from unceded Aboriginal lands across so-called Australia. We're made possible by the Community Broadcasting Foundation, and we're sponsored by the Art Gallery of New South Wales. Kwame Slusher is our production manager. Katerina Falgan-Matos is our community and events coordinator. The All the Best executive producer is Mel Bakewell. Imogen Brosnan is our digital media trainee, and a special shout out to all of our amazing volunteers. Shining Bird composed our theme music, and Annie Hamilton designed the artwork. You can find our full archive of more than 700 episodes at allthebestradio.com. I'm Gabriella Acaria. Thank you for listening.